Welcome back. Welcome back, or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. This is Dr. Richard Owen. I are joined in the studio by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
How about that? With 2 weeks off, I still remembered to do it right.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Good.
We sincerely apologize for our absence. 2 weeks ago, we broadcast from a little town in South Texas by the name of San Antonio, Texas. All right? South Texas is prone every 30 years to get snow. 2 weeks ago, we had our 30-year snowfall. In San Antonio, we got, what, 3 to 5 inches?
Oh,
Yeah.
Did we get that much?
I think so.
I believe so.
Further south got even more.
That's crazy.
It was totally upside down.
It was.
So we were so enamored by the snow that the following week, just last week, we packed up and went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
That's
and
right.
guess what?
There was
No snow.
Yeah.
I mean, we had snow on the slopes, but not down in
That's
town
right.
until the last couple of days that we were there.
But
it
it
was
made for
absolutely hilarious.
Traveling. Though.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and the funny part about it was when we got there, they knew that we had gotten snow.
Oh,
It
really?
made national news.
It made national
Yeah.
news, the amount of snow that came into South
Wow.
Maybe even
Texas. So,
international.
it's just been 2 weeks and we've been off the air. So those of you who listen through our affiliate networks that we're out there with, who just automatically pick up our latest show, have been listening to the same show for the last 2 weeks. So you should have that down pat by now. Probably better than we do. We are all over social media. We are as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. You can expect in the very near future a very limerickal tweet from me about my aggravation over what Twitter has done. Everybody seems to be real excited about going from 140 to 280 characters, right? Mm-hmm. I am not. It has taken the fun out of Twitter, and people are now writing paragraphs. If I wanted to read a paragraph, I'd go to email. I mean, Twitter has completely undermined what they were good at, and that was making us think in order to get our point out in 140 characters and being able to read and understand what somebody else was saying in 140 characters. Mm-hmm. And now they've taken it all out. So you got people out there that are actually writing full sentences. What the hell is that about?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
It's more challenging to make something concise than expand on it.
It absolutely it is.
I know. I remember in school.
It's all about the edit process.
Yep.
And you write condense, you write condense, you write condense, right?
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Those are two different rights I used in the same sentence.
That's all right.
Okay.
We'll let you slide.
And there's So, what else do we? Our blog is up and running, I assume. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've been off for a week, so Uncle Vachi's the blogmeister. So if he says it's up and running, then it is up and running. We have free, that is no charge, absolutely free apps for both iPhone and Android devices. And if you go out there and download the app, it is by far the easiest way to listen to what we have to say and to tell your friends and spread the word, because you'll get access to all of our podcasts, not just the current one. You can listen to it live, but also it lives out there in a free application. So I don't know what more you can ask for to help spread the truth to youth. We got a good show for you tonight. It has to do with Merry Christmas, of course, but mostly it has to do with Christmas, and in the keeping of the Doc Owen Show, some origins, some connecting the dots to today's world. And by that, I mean today, December the 21st, 2017. There are some things going on in this world that you need to understand and you need to pay attention to. and you need to understand them, I think, from a biblical, what I would refer to as a biblical, what Uncle Bocce would refer to as simply a historical perspective. And they are sometimes the same and sometimes not.
Yeah.
So, okay. We always start the show in a very traditional manner. Ms. Surefire brings us a note of inspiration. Uncle Bocce, if he's done his homework, which may not be tonight, he couldn't find anyway, gives us a moment in history, and then I will give us a leadership quote. So, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from a different website. I was just kind of scrolling, on the Google
good for
search.
you.
Yep. And it's called PassItOn.com.
Yeah.
All one word.
That's it. Just
Pass it on. Pass
write
it
it all
on.
out. PassItOn.com.
Okay. Like Doc Owen Show.
Yep.
All one word.
That's correct.
Okay.
And tonight's quote comes from a gentleman that probably most of us have heard of one time or another. His name is Robert Redford.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, really?
Yep. American actor, and as we know him. And what I found kind of interesting is that he was the founder of the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
didn't know
pretty-
that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess because of my age. I don't know.
That's correct.
So I thought that was interesting. His quote is, "Problems can become opportunities when the right people come together."
Good
Interesting.
for you, Mr.
Now-
Redford.
You know why where that came from and why it's relevant to the Sundance Film Festival? Mm-hmm. Because at the time, independent film producers had no voice. It was only the Academy Awards. If you didn't make the Academy Awards, you got no accolades whatsoever. Mr. Redford did not like that, and
Good
there
for
were
him.
others who did not like that. So they founded the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's good.
I remember why it came about. Because there was a furor about it, of course. You know.
Oh, of course.
Uncle Bocce, other than the winter solstice, which you're not sure who proclaimed it the winter solstice, is today known for anything
It's
else?
today, the shortest day of the year.
Briefest day of the year.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Right?
Okay, it doesn't
to
sound right, though. The briefest day.
We don't-
Anyway.
Oh, those of us who are short don't care about what it sounds like.
It's what it feels like,
it's,
right?
it's like all the stuff going on now, but they're complaining because of the song "White Christmas" that
Oh, my
it's
God.
racist.
Oh,
Forget it.
Anyway,
Like we're going to
Yeah.
have black snow. I mean, think about it.
there's yellow snow, but we don't.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I've heard
Oh,
about
yeah.
that one.
time for
But yeah,
time
today-
for go ahead.
I mean, so from tomorrow on, the days are going to start getting longer.
Okay,
Okay,
perceptibly, probably not.
probably not until
Okay.
you get to June or something. Maybe.
There you go. Tonight's leadership quote. I'm just going to give it to you, and we'll let it go at that. I happen to know the origin of this, and when leaders are tested, they have a tendency to reaffirm their leadership, if to no one else but themselves. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So it starts with always know what is right, the right thing to do. It's not hard to determine. It's really not. Sometimes it's hard to follow through with, but it's not hard to determine if you search in your soul and elsewhere. Number one, don't back away from a fight.
Okay.
All right. Number two, don't run from a problem. Run to it.
There you go. Good.
All right.
Good.
Yep.
That's the Marines. Number three, don't underestimate me. That's what a leader is going to tell you.
Okay.
Don't underestimate me. Number four, don't test my resolve.
Aha.
Okay?
That's good.
It's all right.
Wisdom.
That's good.
Okay. That was my preparation for a coming fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just leave it at
That's
that.
right.
Okay. So tonight, after Uncle Bocce trumps us through a little bit of history, I was thinking snow.
Trump. Okay.
Trump. Well, I said Trump. T-R-O-M.
Trump.
Yep. Then we will get into Trump, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America,
Absolutely.
Yep.
and talk about some goings on for today, and some things that are going on today are absolutely centered, interestingly enough, in the birthplace of Christmas. Right? And so I think it's important that we try to tie all these together.
Yeah.
And I'll let the cat out of the bag right now. Folks, you're in for a treat. Little did I know, if you're not aware of it, the Doc Owen Show gathers to break bread before we do the show. The three of us sit down and eat dinner. And talk a little bit about the show, or not. But, just in general, make sure we're kind of in gear with each other. And I was asking Uncle Bocce if he knew or remembered things that I had learned in Sunday school. And I needed, because I didn't have time to Google it. And I was looking for, maybe Uncle Bocce from his study of history would know that. Come to find out, Uncle Bocce's got a 2-year degree in biblical history. Right?
Right.
Which is not on his resume. And you got that as an adult.
Yes.
I mean, you did that as an adult.
I did.
Out of interest. No certifications involved. It wasn't put together by Microsoft.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So he was a wealth of knowledge, and we're going to bring that. We're going to have that. Probably not the exact conversation, but a repeat of the conversation, because it's what I think that we all should know about what went on today in the United Nations, and what we dealt with thousands of years ago. Okay. Having said that, I know this is going to, now it seems mundane to talk about some long gone president of the United States.
Exactly.
After you've said it. But we need to keep on track with our presidential history. So where are we with that?
We're on John Tyler, president number 10.
I was right. Old dull John Tyler.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So.
Go. You're
Okay.
on. Hit it.
Yeah, John Tyler. As far as his education goes, he went to local schools, but then at the age of 12, he went to the preparatory branch at nearby College of William and Mary. Okay. 3 years later, he entered the collegiate program at that wonderful college.
Make note, folks.
Okay.
He didn't go to college prep school after the 12th grade.
Yeah,
He went to college prep school at the age of 12.
Exactly.
Big difference.
Yes, absolutely.
6 years to be exact.
So he began his study of law under his father and an attorney cousin, and he gained admission to the Virginia bar. So he was successful in that respect. His full name is John Tyler Jr. He was named after his father.
Okay. Most juniors are.
Yeah. Okay,
So
great.
Point that out.
The nickname that he was given by his opponents, and you'll see why, was his accidency.
So he was Gerald Ford's predecessor.
Well,
Because
yeah,
that's what Gerald
actually.
Ford was known for too.
That's true.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he became.
Go ahead.
So they gave him that name. And at the time, I'll get into what but at the time there was no formal. He became president. There was no formal method of selecting a new vice president. So he went through his 4 years with no vice president.
What?
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
What do you mean there was no formal? I thought some of the predecessors.
Nope. For this is the first time that transfer of power has gone from an elected president
Oh.
who died.
Oh, okay. You remember where we were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Nobody else here does.
Yeah. Well, I just went over everything that I did go, but I got
No,
that far.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
John Tyler ascended to the presidency how?
Because he was the vice president to the elected president, William Henry Harrison.
And that's
Who got it?
And that we hadn't heard that for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. And the man was a bloviator.
Oh, what?
Out in a bloviator.
Oh,
No,
How
he
many
had this.
people? Wait a
he
minute.
had this
How
long
many
speech.
people accused him of that? Did they have proof?
No, I'm just saying that because he gave a very lengthy speech at about 2 hours in freezing cold weather without any winter garments on.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
he caught a cold, turned into pneumonia, and bye. He was
Right.
a month in office.
Right.
And a lot of people did not want.
Let that be a lesson to you, young folks.
Mm-hmm.
God does not like bloviators.
There you go. So
That's what I think of too.
So John Tyler, he was a member of the Whig Party when he ran as vice president.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But since Harrison died, and he did not, John was not ready to step into line with what all the Whigs wanted because he disagreed with them on a lot of it. So they threw him out of the party. So he became an independent for the rest of his 4 years in office. Now, at one point, he was a part of the Democratic Republican Party, but he split with them because of Andrew Jackson. He did not agree with Andrew Jackson as well.
Not very many people did.
So yeah. Well, he originally joined the Whig Party because he was very strong on states' rights, and the Whig Party was really strong
Right.
on that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
He was in Virginia. He was about 6 feet tall, weighed 160 pounds. He was an Episcopalian. He was born in Charles City County, Virginia, and he died and was laid to rest in 1862. He died. Some people say he died of respiratory failure. Others think he died from a stroke. So it's not really known. And he's buried in what is called the Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Okay, that was his home.
Right. Right.
Okay. This next thing is going to blow your mind. The man loved big families.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So, out of 2 marriages, because his first wife died, he had a total of 15 children.
Holy guacamole.
2 of them from
Goodness.
different wives
Right.
were named
Yeah.
John.
John the former and John the latter.
Right. John, whatever, yeah. So, he was in office about 3 years and 10 months. Just about that. He was age 51 when he became president.
And he only served one term. Did he ran again and lost? Or did he not run?
No, I believe he did run, but we'll find that out next year. Next week.
Which may be next year.
That's right.
Who knows?
No.
Yeah, no, we come pretty close though.
We got one.
We come
Okay,
close.
his career in politics started early. At the age of 21, he was elected to the Virginia House of Delegates. He was a U.S. House of Representative. He was governor of Virginia. He was a senator from Virginia, and he made the same amount of money as president as all the others before him, $25,000. But now in today's, that's worth $690,000. He married two different ladies. His first, Julia, she died, and then he met Letitia, and they married and had 8 more children. So
Goodness.
yeah.
Whew.
So there was no presidential campaign because it had already occurred under.
Right.
He was the vice
He
president.
was the VP, right.
What he did was, as far as the cabinet is concerned, in deference to the Whigs and in deference to William Henry Harrison, who died, he kept every one of Harrison's choices for the cabinet.
Okay.
So he just kept them.
Good for him.
Okay, and it was the same posts, no new ones added.
Right.
Now, here's some interesting things about him. He was an opponent of nationalism. Okay, he did not like the idea of nationalism, which is getting a lot of headlines today in the news. He felt that as a nation to expand and prosper, it would have to operate, or this is what nationalists believe, I'm sorry. They would have to operate as a centralized, unified entity. And that's where he disagreed. He said absolutely not. He was not for a strong central government like some of the founders were. Okay, they called for a national bank, which he was against. Cheap land for settlers, a shift from agrarian to industrial economic base, and broadening of the election franchise to include, guess who? Males of 21 years and older. So we haven't gotten that part of our history
What is
right yet.
he wanted to expand?
No, the nationalists wanted to expand. They wanted the national bank, and they wanted to expand the electoral franchise.
But that's what I'm questioning. Not necessarily who, but they wanted to expand it to 21 years and men 21 years and older.
White males.
Who is it? Who is it now? I mean, who was it then when they wanted that expansion? Who was allowed to vote?
I believe it was just propertied white
males. So you had to own property.
Males. Right. Right.
Okay. That's okay. That's what I was trying. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the nationalists, they wanted to advocate a tariff on imports.
Yeah.
They wanted a strong army, standing army, to defend the national commercial interests. Tyler bitterly opposed that program together. He did not want anything to do with it. He also opposed the Missouri Compromise.
Okay.
If you remember the Missouri Compromise, the issue was, is Missouri going to be entered as a slave state or as a free state?
Right.
And they were back and forth on it.
Right.
So they compromised. They let Missouri become a slave state as long as Maine became
a state.
A state, no slavery.
Right.
The slave owners, I think, won out on that one. Well, anyway. So again, he did not fall in line with the Whig Party. So they threw it. He just did not.
Okay.
So as a result of that, everyone in the cabinet resigned. They did, except for one.
After he kept their jobs for him.
Yes.
In grace.
Right? So, except for one, which was Daniel Webster. He was the Secretary of State. He stayed with him, but eventually he left too.
You know why? I know why.
Why?
He was over in the corner writing a book.
Probably.
And completely missed the vote.
Probably. You're probably right.
That's a good point.
Okay.
He was putting together the dictionary.
They even tried to
Webster.
They even tried to impeach him. Okay? Because they said he misused his veto power because he vetoed the national bank. So he's a strong proponent of states' rights. And he even felt that states should be able to set their own laws without the federal government interfering. I mean, he's a guy that I would like today, if he's believing that kind of thing. His policies regarding state rights caused a further rift in the between the North and the South, and probably influenced helped cause the Civil War. He retired to Virginia after the presidency, and from that point on, he started thinking, well, the South really should secede. Okay?
Wow.
So when the Civil War began and the South formed the Confederate States, Tyler immediately became a member of the Confederate Congress.
Okay.
And to remind you, this was more because not because of slavery.
No.
More because he was defending his state of Virginia.
Well, it was the war between the states. It was not a war over slavery.
Okay. One state was admitted. It's Florida.
Yep.
Okay. And he had one Supreme Court nominee and 8 district court judges. And Trump has already beat him. He's got 12.
Oh, okay. Wait. Oh, he had 8?
Yeah, he had 8 district court,
Oh,
and
okay.
Trump has already exceeded that by 12,
Okay.
with 12.
Okay.
So that's good. Okay, we could go through some domestic policy, but I could save that for next week.
This is week 1 of Tyler, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is he worth week 2? Or
Yeah, there are still some
week
things
one and a
that-
half, and then we get a half into the next guy because
Maybe.
he's only a one-termer?
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
How about if we do that?
That's fine. So we'll stop
Because
now.
it's a Christmas show and we got a lot to cover.
Yeah. Let's just
A
stop
lot,
now.
a lot went on around Christmas time.
Yes,
That's true.
including. Don't forget
or-
about Washington crossing the Delaware on Christmas Eve. Keep that in your prayers too.
What, are they trying it again?
Oh, I think they do it every year. I've been there to Washington's Crossing.
Just
It's
to
neat.
celebrate. Okay, there are, to me, I'm gonna take the Christmas United Nations Israel thing up second. The first thing that I would like for, if we happen to have anybody that listens to the show that is an anti-Trumper, I will be totally surprised, but I'm glad you're here.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
I'm extremely glad you're here.
Rather you be here.
That's true.
Totally rather you be here. Winning. 9 things you need to know about the big Republican tax reform. All right. If you're not familiar, the Senate passed a tax bill. The House approved it, and it is now on its way to President Trump to be signed.
That's correct.
And it is supposedly, it's billed by those who have read it and understand it as a a serious tax reduction. Okay, so I thought I would just give you some bullets of 9 things that are in the tax bill, as condensed by a young man by the name of Ben Shapiro.
Shapiro.
All right.
Love that man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bright young man.
Yeah.
Number 1, virtually everyone will get a tax cut. Everyone. Small, medium, large, high, low, medium, whatever. Number 2, individual tax decreases sunset, but will likely continue. By sunset, if you're not familiar with the term, that means that they have a time limit on them, and at some point in the future, they go away.
Yeah, I think it's
Unless
10 years.
10 years out or whatever it is, unless there's a bill passed or somebody that it comes up and they say, no, we don't need to sunset it. Let's leave them where they are. Okay. And whoever doesn't extend the sunset will not get reelected because he'll be
Simple
raising
as that.
taxes. Number 3, corporate tax rates drop dramatically. That's a key.
Yes, it is.
The concern across the world is that now that they've done that, all of the jobs will come home.
That's right.
Number 4, there is a big increase in the child tax credit.
Doubled.
Okay?
Wow.
Matter of fact. Yeah.
So I wasn't going to get into the detail. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly what that means, nor that I agree with it. What does it mean? You seem to know.
Yeah, if you're a family,
Yep.
you always get a deduction, and a standard deduction
For the
that you have children.
Right. And so if the
Well-
child was born on December the 30th, that's the only year the child is profitable. But keep going.
Oh, okay.
Because you
wait a
can't
minute.
afford them for more than a
Wait a
day.
minute.
Oh my
No, as long as
goodness.
you're raising children until they're the age of 18, I think it is.
Okay.
You can get that. But what they've done is they've doubled it, which means that families are going to get a little extra more back.
Okay. So it's not designed to increase the size of the family.
Like John Tyler
No,
did.
no.
Like
That's-
John Tyler.
yeah.
That's what.
There
okay.
you go.
That's what my. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was number 4, right? Number 5, high income earners in high tax states pay more. I'm good with that. high tax states
Yeah, local
California.
tax. Yeah,
where you have
California.
state income tax.
California.
Not going to touch that. That's a state issue. Smart move. Itemization is downsized. In other words, I don't know what that means, but that sounds to me like there are fewer things
To
that you
itemize.
have to itemize.
Yeah.
Doesn't say they're not deductible. It just means they've reduced the number of categories and the number of line items you have to put them into, right?
That's true.
Pens and pencils, for instance, could be writing instruments.
That's
There
right.
you go. Okay. The individual mandate is gone.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Oil exploration in the ANWR is now
ANWR, yeah.
possible. That's the Antarctic,
Yeah.
right?
National Wildlife Reserve, ANWR. Yeah.
Do we agree with that?
I agree with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know,
Okay.
I want that oil.
Well, I understand. But I got to tell you, there's a side of me that says there needs to be some place on Earth that's pristine.
Yeah.
There needs to
That's
be
true.
some place on Earth that man has not violated.
True.
I'm sorry.
I understand. No.
that's-
Wyoming,
I-
right.
you know, yeah.
Wow.
There's just got to be some place where
Yeah.
it's like hands off.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I agree with that one, but most people do. And I'm living the oil patch. Deficits will increase.
Where'd you get that one?
Number 9. The bill was slated to create 1.5 trillion in new deficits. This is likely an understatement since the individual tax rates won't be allowed to sunset. That means that Republicans will have to figure out a way to cut, or they'll just be continuing to blow through borrowed cash, which means inflation or tax increase in the future.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
that I understand. Yes.
Okay. And I would tell you to that last one, it seems like a downer, just like Uncle Bocce reacted. It's not, because Republicans are known for cutting
Yeah.
overhead.
Yeah. Well, see that's
No, it's living within your means. You reduce the taxes across the board, see how much money that brings in, how many more jobs it creates. If it doesn't create the expected amount of revenue increase, like Reagan's did, he reduced taxes. Federal
Right.
government took more money in.
Right.
If this one, for some reason, does not do the same thing, then Republicans are known for reducing the overhead to live within their means.
Yeah.
And
Eh, eh.
Democrats have a tendency not to recognize that as a
Exactly.
possibility.
Exactly.
No matter what you do, we're not cutting jobs.
Right.
Well, so they blow through
Cutting taxes or jobs?
jobs.
Okay.
They don't cut jobs.
Yeah.
In the federal government. In other words,
Well,
we're
yeah.
not bringing in
See,
enough
that's-
money. Well, that's too
right.
bad. Tax some more.
Yeah.
No,
There is-
Fire those people that are sitting on their butts.
Yeah. There is a school of thought that says that this wasn't really a tax cut because there is no spending cut. So somewhere or other, like you're saying, it's going to create deficit. I can understand that.
Right.
But
But a tax
if the
cut-
economy explodes like they were going to do, I would tend to think that deficit is going to get smaller because we'll have more revenue.
Yes.
Go on.
No, that was number 9. I can't go on.
Oh, okay. And I just want a point of clarification on that state income tax thing.
Yes.
They are allowed to deduct $10,000 if you're in the state of state taxes, state and property
Off
taxes.
of your federal tax?
Off your federal tax. Only 10,000.
Okay.
Okay? So if you owe $25,000 in taxes, you're not going to. So what that's going to do is that's going to increase the amount that those in tax states, that's going to increase the amount that they owe to the government,
Right.
which is a good thing
both
because I'm sick and tired of paying for California and New York and New Jersey. I'm tired of paying taxes for them because it was subsidized.
Well, you're not just paying for those.
Yeah.
What are there, 3 states in this United States that don't have a state income
there
tax?
are actually 8.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
There actually are 8.
Is
Wow.
Wyoming one
Of
of them?
course, Texas, Wyoming, Florida.
Yeah. I didn't know there were 8. I thought there were just 3.
No, there are 8 of them.
Okay, cool. Okay. Let's shift gears for a little bit.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about. Okay, so what went on very recently? I think within the last couple of weeks, maybe 3, something like that. It was announced that the United States was moving its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to the Israel capital of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
That's correct.
Well, SHTF, the minute that was announced.
Mm-hmm.
All right? I mean, everybody went up in arms and squawking and yada, yada, yada. The first thing that I think everyone should remember was there was a law passed by the United States Congress and signed by the president that said we were going to do that in 1995.
Oh, was it 95? Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was back.
So over 20 years later, we finally have a president with the cojones to enforce the
the
law.
law. Good for you, Trump.
All right?
Good.
Folks, look at the big picture. Look at the Middle East. Look at pull out a map, pull out a globe, Google it. I don't care. Bring it up. Look at it. Look at all of the desert land all around there. Mm-hmm. Look at the names of all of those countries. They're now common to you. Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Egypt. What else? Lebanon,
Jordan, Syria.
Turkey.
There you go.
Yeah, Turkey.
Those are all, they appear to us in the United States and on a global map to be kind of one big sort of desert, right? One big environment. They're all,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're all in it together, all right?
Yeah.
Out of all of those countries that you see on that map, who acts the most like us?
Israel.
Israel. Who constantly and forever has supported our issues? Let's put it that way.
Israel.
Israel. They have been our ally for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So ask yourself, remember that quote I gave you at the beginning? Always know what is right?
Mm-hmm.
It is only right for us to support Israel. Whether we like their current policies or whether we like that fellow named Netanyahu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And because even in times when they did not like our president or our policies towards them, they were always polite enough to keep it to themselves.
That's right.
And in public forum, support us. Mm-hmm. They might question it. They might not do it quite as loudly or as often as they used to, but they were always gracious in the fact that long term they knew we had to know that they were our ally, particularly in a region where they are being attacked from every side 24/7.
That's right.
It is nothing, and we've all seen the heightened attacks on Christianity, and don't you for a minute think that because they're Jewish that they are any different from our Christian roots and our Christian heritage.
Right.
Jesus was a Jew. Mm-hmm. End of discussion.
That's it.
So that Uncle Bocce brings us to the conversation. So we got this big furor over supporting the move of our embassy to the capital of Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're the least bit curious, you want to know where Bethlehem is in relation to Jerusalem, right? Mm-hmm. And it's south. Mm-hmm. It is in what is currently referred to as the West Bank, which is the battle region.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's the battle region of Israel. The West Bank is where if you're going over there to visit, you don't go into the West Bank neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's the most dangerous area in terms of attacks, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems to me that, it's not without, it's with a lot of meaning that all of this fighting is being concentrated in an area right where Jesus was born. And there's never been much argument over that fact of where he was born, where he grew up, and all this kind of jazz. I find it interesting that that is one of the primary flashpoints in the world today, 2,000 years later. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we'll get into the question. So then today, the United Nations decided to condemn the United States move of our embassy to Jerusalem. Okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Along with declaring Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. It's two things.
Okay.
What you just said, the capital.
Yep.
And
Well,
The embassy.
I look over that because I've always considered Jerusalem as the
yeah,
capital.
exactly.
Jerusalem is the capital.
It is.
Well,
Even East Jerusalem.
What we said when we moved the embassy was because Jerusalem was the capital.
Yeah.
In other words, right? So we supported, we reinforced that as a country. I want to read what Nikki Haley said, our ambassador to the United Nations, prior to the vote. All right?
Okay.
And I can't do this probably much justice because I've never heard her speak. If I had heard her speak, I can assure you I would be able to duplicate it. So you're going to have to, this is, I just can't do a falsetto voice. I don't know whether she has a high voice
Just
or not.
speak the way you are.
Okay. This is a quote. Today, buried in diplomatic jargon, some presume to tell America where to put our embassy. She continued, the United States has a sovereign right to determine where and whether we establish an embassy. The United States will not be told by any country where we can put our embassy.
Good for you, Nikki. Boy, she's the...
And she went on to say, we're taking names, we're doing this, we're
Yep.
doing that, et cetera, et cetera.
She's even better than John Bolton.
The United Nations, the representatives from 124 some odd countries
Yeah.
couldn't care less and went ahead and condemned what we were doing. All right.
I think there's only
Understand
7 that did.
8.
Was it 8?
8.
Okay.
Understand that. Think about who these folks are. Think about what members of the United Nations stand for. They are people like the former Omar Gaddafi. They are people like the guy that we ran out of Iraq. They are people like Idi Amin. They are people. I mean, they are despots. They are rulers with ruthless intent. The first thing they do is take away the guns. When you hear about the United Nations coming to the United States to take away the guns, it's true. That's how because the United Nations, rather than be what it was intended to be, has morphed into a representative of the New World Order. It has morphed into global government. That's not what it was intended to be.
Nope.
It was intended to be a forum for all of these other nations to get together and discuss things. And it morphed into a control mechanism for the world. We could talk about that on and on. But the point is, the United States of America, and by the way, this should absolutely solidify this. We just took $8 billion off of the deficit because that's what we spend a year to support the United Nations. We're a big source of their fundings.
Absolutely.
So number 9 here just got reduced by $8 billion as far as I'm concerned. And don't think that's not the way Republicans think. So anyway, so that sets the stage. All right. That's the world today. I mean, literally today is when this UN vote went on. So Bachi, what was the world 2,000 years ago? 2017 to be exact. What aren't we seeing an awful lot of the same things, the same jealousies, the same issues, the same reaction to one country or one group of people being better, brighter, more enthusiastic, a little better trained, a little better this, a little better that than the others?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
no.
No, just
So
you
have
know-
the discussion. I asked you the question in
yeah.
a different way earlier.
Okay. What you have to understand is that most of the Middle East
Yes.
was under the proprietorship of Britain.
Okay.
So it was Britain that really called for an Israeli state. Now, the Israeli state, even though there were Jews there, always living there, but lost my train of thought here. But in 1948
Yeah.
is actually when the state became Israel,
Right.
okay, with
Right.
defined borders.
Yes.
And of course, there was immediately a war, and that's how the West Bank got into the Arab hands.
But it was dedicated and set aside in 48 as a result of World War II.
Right.
And what the Germans did to the Jews, et cetera, et cetera.
And the Russians, yes.
Yes. But the winners created an area of protection,
Yes.
right?
Yes, a protectorate,
A
yes.
land of their own.
Right.
Okay. But before that, and see, a lot of people hang their hat on that, and they say, well, if it hadn't been for the United States and Great Britain and Australia and the people that won World War II, Israel wouldn't exist.
Well,
What do you say to that?
that's kind of a hard question to answer because you don't know. You can't tell what would have happened after 1948
But-
because the Jews were already migrating to this area.
But it exists. But the point is, it existed before.
Absolutely.
That's the point. It's
Absolutely.
not that it started in 1948.
Nope.
It's that it existed for thousands of years
3,000
before.
years at least, yeah.
But it took them until 1948 to recognize it
Exactly.
as a sovereign area.
Exactly.
Okay,
Because
that was my point.
Yeah.
The same thing happens today. You know what I'm saying? We do things for a very long time. We passed a law in 1995
Yeah.
that said Jerusalem's the capital and we're moving our. So 22 years later, it took us to relocate a few hundred people. So when Israel was there, when Jesus was born, and before,
absolutely.
when Jesus was born just south of Jerusalem.
That is correct.
Right?
In
It was
Bethlehem.
a Jewish state. It was their homeland.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, yeah. At the time, though, it was like a protectorate of the Roman Empire.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
Okay. I'll just
but our audience, but our
Yeah.
listeners need to know that
Yes.
is you can't necessarily break things down chronologically like some people would have you think.
yeah.
That Israel didn't exist until 1948.
No.
In effect, they're going by what you said. They go down the fact that it was created in 1948. No, it wasn't.
Nope. It was not.
And the one thing that used to amaze me, my great aunt was a first grade school teacher, and she took National Geographic and always had maps and globes around. All right? Which I thought was really cool as a youngster. But I've gone and I live in her house now, and have gone through a bunch of her stuff when she passed away in 2002, and looked at all these maps. And I remember questioning her then on when did this country change its name? Wait a minute. This used to be something else, particularly in that area of the world and spreading on up into Russia. And in our time, we have noticed the rise of what I call the stands. Uzbekistan,
all the stands, yes.
all the stands came out of the dissolution of Russia. So don't get too hung up if you wade into a discussion about Israel and somebody points to the fact that it's only been around since 1948.
It's not true.
I know it's not,
Yeah.
but so we don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to drive that point home.
The Jews, all the way back to the time of Abraham,
There you go.
they were
now you're talking.
They lived in that
Which,
area.
by the way, was Abraham was way before Jesus.
That's right, way before. And
Way back.
and
Yeah.
once they were taken
He was
to
he
Egypt
was in
as slaves,
he was in the BC area.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
they were taken to Egypt as slaves, and you know the story about them being freed by the Pharaoh and the Pharaoh chasing them, whatever. That is when they actually established themselves as a nation. They came into
right.
They came into what then was called Canaan.
Right,
Okay,
right.
and that's when, and then it started with the
Okay,
city
so
of
what
David.
then was called Canaan? If I pull up a map today, obviously I'm not going to find Canaan.
No,
But
not.
where was it?
It was exactly where Israel is right now.
Son of a gun.
Yeah,
That's my point.
no Palestine or Palestine.
But that's
It
my
was
point.
Yeah, exactly.
It was called something different, but
Yes.
it was the home
Still is.
of the Jewish people.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Canaan, that's exactly what we were looking to bring out.
Yeah.
And so now we have a bunch of new world order. If you're in business, if you're a young person, you're studying business, you probably have heard the term ISO 9000. Everybody's heard of ISO 9000, right? And you got to conform to ISO 9000 standards, and it's a global standard on how you manufacture things and how you put it together, and you know how many rivets go into how many inches, et cetera, et cetera. You know what happened with ISO 9000? And I do because I was working in the computer business at the time, and we were automating companies to ISO 9000 standards, and we were complaining about it because it brought our standards down. It cheapened American products to be 9000 compatible. All right. I'm trying to tell you the same thing about the United Nations and the United States. We are not a gifted people as such. We are gifted by the grace of God with the ability to know what is right and what is not right.
Correct.
And we have a tendency, hopefully, to act on what is right. Right?
That's.
I mean, that's the whole deal. And we don't back away from a fight, Israel. We don't run from a problem, Jerusalem. We don't underestimate me or us, and don't test our resolve.
Correct. Yeah.
The United States of America is back.
Yes.
I'm firmly convinced of it. Is it going to be easy? Is everybody going to roll over, play dead, and say, okay, you win? It's going to take an entire
hardly.
generation of this level of effort to get it done. And hopefully the audience for the Doc Owen Show will be a part of that level of effort.
Yes.
That's the intent of the show. Join us. It's fun. You will enjoy winning because you're winning for the right reason.
That's right.
Okay. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
We're back. We're glad. Merry Christmas, everybody. And go out there and say it as often and what. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.